everyone. So I wanted to make this video randomly because I noticed one of my Persona videos really popped off. So I felt it'd be fair for some of my subscribers that I knew get at least some thoughts on what I think about Persona 5. And probably I have it in the thumbnail. But I actually really like Persona 5. Long story short, I anticipated it as a Persona 4 fan. And I'd say it lived up to exactly what I thought. I heard the reception is that Persona 4 fans still... I mean, I still think Persona 4 is my favorite to this day. 5 did not topple it in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's game... Well, maybe probably gameplay. I'll give it that. But yeah, no. Persona 4 is still my favorite. Persona 5 lived up to my expectations. A lot of people agreed, oh, it wasn't, the greatest thing on earth, but, really liked it. Solid-ass game, lived up to our expectations, which can be very hard, especially with a series like Persona. But anyways, getting to the point is, yeah, like, I like the core gameplay. I felt it's probably some of the best in the entire series. I really like that you can see your enemies and hit them. For main missions, so we'll get to the main point, but my biggest pet peeve is that Persona 5 is just way too fucking long. That is something that really deterred me. Like, so when I was first playing, I was fine with the first dungeon. After I was like, okay, whatever, no big deal. And then it was a bit after that I started getting tired. I played about 50 hours and then I was just so done. Like, I literally took a year break and came back. That's how tired and done I was with the game by 50 hours. And then another 50-ish hours, I was like, yo, I have to just end me now. But I like the story so much and the characters that I wanted to keep going. And my main thing is that the gameplay was getting in the way of the story. That's my biggest critique, because at the end of the day, it's a turn-based game. And to me, and this is no surprise to anybody, but turn-based games really aren't for everybody. They're not the most entertaining thing on earth. But even that, I am someone that does like turn-based games. Like, I feel like I'm the intermediate. I'm not the hardcore or the niche. I think I represent a fair representation of someone who would give a turn-based RPG a shot. And I do like them. But the thing is, that gimmick runs out very quickly. And there are RPGs that do a better job. Like, a good example, say the Father series, Shin Megami Tensei. I played 3. I'm already at 60 hours, and I absolutely still love it. The only reason I haven't got back is because I'm doing other stuff. And I didn't get the same feeling like I did with 5. And why is that? Even though the gameplay is objectively better than, say, 4 and 3. And it's that whole thing, like, oh, I get it. Like, there's a certain point with any game. It doesn't matter, Persona or open world games. It's like, you can only keep doing this gimmick so much. And that's something that ran out. By the time I was at the bank heist, that gimmick was running out thin of, oh, taking turns. And, and the whole grinding thing. People, oh, you don't grind in Persona. But the problem is like, the tutorial is just god-awful. Like, to me, a game shouldn't just have to throw a bunch of text at you. I don't care what it is. Because some people just like, and then here's the thing, I read, but I don't want to repair. A game should naturally be able to do it. And again, Shin Megami Tensei 3 encouraged me to fuse way more than Persona 5 did. And it didn't tell me a goddamn thing. This goes into the whole thing about conversation, right? Why people like the Soul series, because it doesn't try to handhold you. And I don't know, Persona 5 felt too handholdy in my opinion. It was super annoying. I just said like, nah, just let me get to the thing. And again, that's the crux of this thing. Persona 5 feels like it interrupts you too much from actually trying to get to the story. And this is a big pet peeve I have with a lot of turn-based games, or just games in general, is when it's a story, I want to finish the story as fast as humanly possible. And it becomes a pain when the gameplay gets in the way of it, Like, it's not a problem. Like, the Persona series, I think, does a good job, like, when you get certain personas and it's part of the gameplay, and the social links help you with the game. Like, that's such a nice dynamic. But man, just especially like the dungeons, I didn't like the dungeon, like not the story, but the actual dungeons, Labrys, Tartarus, whatever the fuck it is. I wish it was actually like random generated, like when you would just walk around and you'd get into a random fight. Persona 5 could have been a good mix of finding your enemies and, getting a random encounter. Like, Vanish Ball is completely useless in my opinion, because who the hell is gonna get caught off guard by anything? I used it like maybe 2 times because, sometimes I ran into some BS. I actually have a clip up somewhere, but outside of that, like, Vanish Ball is just completely useless. Like, there are some things in there that just absolutely make no sense, like, again, Vanish Ball. But yeah, like, a turn-based game, in my opinion, shouldn't be longer than 60 hours. Like, unless you're just godlike, like Shin Megami Tensei or freaking Resonance of Fate, like, the gimmick runs out very thin. Like, in my opinion, I think a turn-based game should be like Call of Duty. Don't be 6 to 8 hours. Have your main core game, and then get to the story and move on. That's just me. I don't have all day. I am an adult. What I really gotta mention for some of you who might you gotta realize my position. I am a full-grown adult who works full-time and has to stream, edit, and this isn't even my main game series. I play fighting games. I have to spend at least 100 hours minimum for training before tournaments. I have very little time to play other games. So games that require me to spend 100 hours of my day just immediately get cooked. Unless you're actually immaculately good, I'll spend my time. And again, Persona's story, even up before 4, I loved it. Like, Persona 4 is one of my favorite stories of all time. So I actually forced myself to play with 5. And I kept going. Why? Because I really liked the story. Now, Scramble, on the other hand, I loved. Even though it has some of the same problems to a degree, but it's like, the grind wasn't nowhere near as bad. And at the end of the day, I'm playing a video game, right? Like, I feel like I'm actually playing a video game. When you're playing a turn-based game, as most people will tell you, they're there for the story. So in all actuality, the turn-based game should be as minimal as possible. It really should be. And this isn't even like an opinion. This is just a fact. Like, if you want more people to play your stuff, you just gotta make that shit shorter. I'm sorry. I mean, the story, yeah, a longer story does benefit. But bro, me sitting here in hour intervals, you know, oh, here's an hour of gameplay. Oh, here's 5 minutes of story. Oh, go back to the fucking Tartarus. It's like, dude, just fucking no. I get the point. It's so boring. But yeah, that was a huge problem I really had with Persona 5. It's just too damn long. Like, I'm already through my second playthrough. I'm glad I'm already OP. But once I get the platinum, I'm immaculately done with that game. I'm deleting it and I'll hand it off to the next person. And something that really fucked me over, I didn't know, so this is on me, that you can use the DLC Persona from the start. And that's something I actually like. People like, hey, oh, this and that. Like, it's so weird when people bring up the debate of difficulty in it. Dude, it's a turn-based game. They're not hard. That's such a weird ass fucking thing. Like, unless you're playing Shin Megami Tensei, then no. And even then, like, is it really hard? You sit there and take turns and think all day. Like, that's not very hard. I will say, idiots can't play turn-based games. That's its difficulty for say, like, oh, can you think and take turns? Do you have a brain? If the answer is no, go play COD. You know, and that's not an insult. Like, I say this to someone that's unbiased, so people say, oh, because, like, no, dude, I play literally every single genre. I've been into turn-based games. I played them a lot back on PC, and guess what? They were more to 6 to 8 hours. Like, oh, what games did you play? Yeah, I play, like, indie Flash games. Like, they don't have a budget of a AAA studio like Final Fantasy or Persona to make a long-ass RPG. But yeah, that's my whole critique, and, you know, hopefully no one gets offended or anything. I found that Persona 5 setting was probably the most relatable out of all the Persona games, because it's set in the city, and I've grown up in the city, and even the friends circle reminds me a lot of my old circle. And again, that's a whole different critique. Like, the story is a completely different discussion than the actual game itself. I should differentiate that. You know, story for Persona, including 5, like I said, it's probably my least favorite out of all the Personas, which is not a bad thing. It's still strong. Like, Persona 5 story is stronger than like 90% of the fucking bullshit games that come out now. So trust me, like I say this as a Persona fan. But the game, fuck me, dude. I wanted to fucking commit seppuku. Scramble on the other hand is way better. I think Scramble's underrated. Different discussion, but yeah, that'll be the end of this discussion for my Persona fans. I don't push too much Persona stuff, but I am a huge fan, so if any of you guys want to stick around, I just released the BB Tag stuff, so if anyone is into BB Tag, I have some Persona. I don't know, it's just because, like, at the end of the day, it's Persona, you guys notice most of these videos is more about discussion, the story, yada yada. But if you guys want to talk about Persona for free stream, feel free to swing by my stream. But you won't really see a lot of, like, because there's not much to it. You take turns and it's RNG, like, oh, I got this with these stats. Like, not really a lot to discuss, right? And there's other people who do a much better job than I ever will, right? And are more committed to the time than I ever will be. Like I mentioned, I play primarily fighting games because they bring money. They ain't no Persona 5 tournaments as far as I know, and I wouldn't be interested because really, taking turns, get the fuck out of here. But that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoy. So for my Persona fans that subbed, I mean, that was mainly a meme post. I might post other Persona stuff.